Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm going to continue. It's asking my permission. I love that. I love being asked permission to go live with Guru Nishan. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, whether you're catching the live stream, the replay, whether you're on my page, Guru Nishan's page, anywhere at all. I could not be more grateful on Thanksgiving to be with Guru Nishan, interviewing her about her and all the magic that she's up to. I want to share a few things about why I'm so excited. So, Guru Nishan and I have known each other for many, many years. And I have to say that I'm surprised we haven't known each other for many, many decades. We both grew up with yoga. We both grew up authentically in our body, almost like by design, by a greater force than ourselves. Our families kind of brought us into the mix and the fold of breathing for, embodiment, breathing to maximize brain and hormone and organ functioning without even thinking about it. We were kids. We were literally in elementary school and growing up with communities that were teaching us about yoga and yogic principles that really most of the world in the West didn't really start until maybe I'd say the last 10 years. So for, I would say, over 40 years. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, 40, 50 years, 40 going on 50 years for me. We grew up living naturally in a yogic way. Um, Guru Nishan is so delicious to me, so yummy, because she brings a kind of real elegant sassiness. I don't know how else to say it, but for me, when I'm in her presence and when we're talking about the things that we both teach and talk about, she is just so sharp and sassy and elegant, and she's raw and authentic and real. So with that, I want to welcome Guru Nishan, and I want to hear where you are and what's going good for you. What are you thankful for today, love?
Gosh, I'm thankful for that delicious brag on me that you just gave. To call me, what did you say, classy, sassy, classy, or sexy, classy, or whatever. To me, that's such a compliment because, um, you know, several decades ago, I would look at women that felt embodied and sexy and would kind of like wear sexy outfits and kind of feel like really in permission of themselves the way that they were perceived to me. And I craved that. I wanted that, but I felt like I was very weighted down in a masculine body. And, you know, that's such an interesting thing to kind of feel that. And I just said that on my last live, like, wow, you see me now in this embodied self, but you should have seen me several decades ago and the work that it's taken me to get here, you know?
Yes, yes. And I think we met kind of at the beginning of your really going for it with coming this way.
It's so true. Yeah, we met in 2015 at the School of Womanly Arts, and it had been at least a good five. No, woo. It had at least have been a good 5 years before that that I had been playing in the realm of expressing my sexual nature and not being ashamed of it. And I started, I remember noticing my own confusion of like, wow, here I'm raised learning Kundalini yoga, Kundalini energy, right? That potent sex energy that's dormant potential in all of us. And yet I remember being,
Uncoiling the
yeah, like uncoiling the serpent, right? Juicy. And but then juxtaposed against the training, kind of the religious indoctrination. And I just remember thinking, nobody talked about sex growing up. Everybody was having sex with other people's people or yoga students when they shouldn't be. And I just remember that is
strong fake
confusing.
news, right?
Yeah,
Exposed behind the curtain.
yeah, the secrets of it. And so as I entered into that school, I remember being very distinctly aware of the confusion living in me. Like, wow, here I know so much about the dormant sexual potential of the human capacity of our brain and our body. And I have no skill sets in showing up in real tangible life as an embodied sexy being. And I don't have the skill sets to have a dialogue with a man of the opposite sex around what I want.
Ah, what I want, what we want. I just love that. Yes, yes, and yes.
It also made me realize I had no relationship with my clitoris. I had no relationship with my pussy, with my desire. And yet I thought I was a very embodied person when I went into that course in 2015. I thought I was very aware. I didn't know I didn't have a relationship with my clitoris. And even I didn't have a relationship with the pleasure principle in general. And that work, after meeting you and then doing OM and starting to really do something different, I stopped training in where I came from and all the yogic practices and started leaning into a pleasure principle that seemed to be in jail inside of me.
Mm. I want to pause you for a minute. Um, I think it's really interesting what you were saying about what you were sharing on your Facebook Live, and you see me now embodied here. And, if you knew me when, right? And my daughter actually wrote some essay questions, last year around if you knew me, you would know that, right? And what you've said about the asking for what you want and about being introduced. Go around that way. Being introduced. Déjalo afuera, por favor. Being introduced, and my family's just waking up on this Thanksgiving Day, so there's other stuff happening in the room. But I will share that I would love for you to unpack a little bit about this asking for what I want and an introduction to my clitoris. Just this morning in this group, Sensual Body Wealth Activation, I posted something from Planned Parenthood, and it was a teen ask the experts in Planned Parenthood that came out in April. So
Mm.
how interesting, a teen is like, what is the clitoris? What is it for? Like a teen asked Planned Parenthood, and here we are at a time where, thank God, we've got some freedom coming back around Planned Parenthood as an institution. How does the clitoris have anything to do with asking for what you want and some of the trainings that you've done? How does this give you more juicy life? How does this make you more turned on and present?
Well, I want to unpack the question to first say, I didn't know that there was a realm of me that I didn't know how to ask for what I want, because I had claimed an identity in the world in
Right.
other
So we
parts.
don't know what we don't know.
Right. We didn't even like, yes, that's the beginning. Like, I thought I had experienced lots of pleasure. I thought I had had great sex in my life. I had traveled the world. I had been exposed to lots of things. Like, I literally didn't know that there was a whole underbelly of me that I hadn't even barely touched on, not even. And so before I get to asking for what I want to say that the beginning, even saying yes to desire based pleasure inquiry, just leaning
Mm.
in that direction. Yeah.
Desire based pleasure inquiry. I love it. So getting to that. So keep going. I'm going to pause you a little bit just
I,
so that we can catch up, because other people, they don't understand what we're talking about maybe, and I want to make sure that it lands for them.
thank you, because desire and pleasure weren't in my lingo. They weren't in my lingo. So when that came up, I was like, ooh, kind of childlike. That sounds kind of fun. But then when I leaned in to be like, what do I desire? Kind of like, what a great question. And then I asked, and it was like, it wasn't even crickets. It was like lead.
Lead. There wasn't even crickets. What do I want? Wait, I don't hear crickets. It's kind
Dunk.
of like a heavy metal.
And I didn't know why, because if you would have asked me then, I would have felt like my upbringing was a wonderful upbringing. Yes, there was hypocrisy. Yes, there was some lying and cheating, but every life has some hypocrisy. I didn't put it into a category of real, yeah.
So when we're speaking here, just so that everybody else understands, we're coming from a very kind of almost cult-like background. So I spent many months and years at ashrams in my teens. And ashram is a yogic center for the practicing and living of yoga. So we I just wanted to make sure that we weren't looking at just the normal hypocrisy of like, oh, the president and the economic system and the school system that like thinks arts and sports are like not really important, all these other things. We're talking an even bigger, like you didn't have access to asking the questions about where does desire originate? How do I speak my desires? And what does pleasure have to do with feeding my desires and making my desires more accessible? What does me having pleasure? We didn't even know that, even though we were like, and then you move your arms like this and it feels good. And then when here, it's so good for you to keep your spine fluid. And, so very good. Yeah. So that
Potatoes regularly, right?
do those Kegels. They didn't call them Kegels. It was
But
the wakening up of the serpent.
that's the thing about growing
Banda,
in a highly,
mudra.
like in a highly spiritual environment or cult environment, like is, the external message and then what you actually witness happening. When those two are so far incongruent, it really creates a psychosomatic disconnect. And that's what I noticed when I started asking myself, what do I desire? Is I noticed I couldn't feel that I was there. I had escaped my body as a way to survive. And it was a weird awareness. But going back to the original question, getting the language of pleasure and desire, and how does my clitoris relate to that? It gave me a starting point to locate myself in truth, because I needed to feel myself. So my clitoris helped me to always come back to feeling myself when my training was trying to tell me things were wrong and I shouldn't want that or do that or have that.
I love that. So I also want to, unpack that a little bit. So I believe that I and you studied the clitoris and the language of the clitoris and how to like exercise the clitoris and listen to the clitoris, and then inform others on how to speak to and listen to our clitoris. And it was through, it opened up a little bit with, the School of Womanly Arts. And then for me, as you mentioned, that one taste kind of training and the oming practice that was introduced there. And my teacher for that practice was Lauren Harkness. And I don't know, how or when, but I'm sure it will soon. That kind of access to like speaking to our clitoris and learning about like touching and hearing and talking and oh, up higher, down lower, please harder, and how learning to speak about that really helps for, no, I want that dress and I want to wear it when I go here, and I want it to be at sunset so I can, the specificity,
Sure.
that training.
Mm.
So I think that's so powerful for women that already had that embodiment with the yoga and the breath and the mind and all of the energetic centers, the chakras, and so much information. And then that added on layer of how to access pussy and the power of pussy. Do you want to share a little bit about your journey with that?
Yeah, I was going to say, where I brought that practice, like I know a lot of people have taken practices like what everything you're saying as a relationship back to, so as a feminine practice of like embodiment and like connection to our pussies. which is brilliant and has been brilliant for me. I feel like I always had a relationship with my body, but it never really brought it to a deeper level of kind of the erotic nature of the life force,
Mm,
of our energy, and
mhm,
getting into permission and unwinding the unconscious code around like the shame I got around like having a pussy or showing my legs or wearing anything that showed my figure and cutting my hair, even like using any adornments, right?
mm,
So it was
mhm,
this
mhm.
process of reclaiming self and saying, I'm allowed to have self in a yoga kind of spiritual world where you're trying to be selfless, and where a lot of people on the planet have to learn how to be less self and more service. I had to learn how to show up and be more self and less service, less giving away. Um,
Love it.
that's one, but specifically that practice and what the clitoris I find to be most important, because I teach on the sensory body and the nervous system, and because I was so well trained in Kundalini yoga, I could feel I was overtrained and it was making me not feel my own emotional body. So this
Mm,
practice got access to my nervous system in a similar way. I could feel the rewiring in my nervous system, but it was from the stroke of the clitoris. And I found
mm.
that so fascinating because it wasn't a goal of trying to like climax or like turn me on. It was just noticing. And for the first almost a year, Jen, seriously, I think I didn't feel anything. I think that was a part of the grief that had to come through me, was the fact that it was an ice block. I couldn't even tell what was going on. And that was a part of like the landing of coming home, was the letting myself be like, it's safe to feel here. This is a container that's been created and it's safe. You don't have to perform. You don't have to overgive yourself to show your value. You just get to feel.
Two things that stand out from everything you just shared is that that curiosity, right? That childlike wonder and curiosity, even in the face of numbness, not feeling, and literally being in the dark, and in a beginner, being a brand new beginner to being in your pussy, in your pleasure, in your power. So that beginner's mindset, that curiosity as one, and then the goalless practice, like being able and allowed and creating a platform to be curious without it being curious so that I'm more sexy, curious so that I'm more wealthy, curious so that I'm more smart or informed, but curious as like, huh, like almost like the dog, like that ear tilting, like what's happening here? What is this all about?
Well, I think that's the way I've unwound most of the patterns in my physiology and neurobiology, is asking that question through a seduction lens. Like, well, isn't that interesting? Look at me craving that and then completely blocking it. Wow, where did I first learn that? Who did I learn from? Where did I first hear that? And I like marinate into these questions around watching myself thwart the very thing I'm saying I want, whether that's to
Yeah.
be adored, whether that's to like show up and be able to, dress in a certain way that gives me pleasure, little things. But what you're saying about the safety of the goallessness, that practice changed my life. I could fly anywhere in the world and have a complete stranger for 15 minutes stroke my clitoris. We both have a neurosensory experience, and then we leave and we get to take all that orgasmic energy and let it flood through our own bodies. I was like,
It's like it was
oh,
literally like brushing our teeth. It became like that, right? Like
oh
just like another thing to.
God. The thing is, Chicago didn't have a lot of people oming. So I would fly to New York a lot to om, and I really saw the nervous system benefit. And so when I got to start teaching this in Chicago, I've always taught this practice through a nervous system and trauma healing lens. I've taught it as a neuro rewiring patterning lens, both for the stroker and the strokee, that we both have a chance to plug into the socket of the clitoris, because the clitoris has no purpose except for pleasure, right? It's pure electrical potency, and it's not another organ serving another purpose. So when you plug into it, because we're both electrical conduits touching each other create this third embodied energetic battery, and both parties get to be rewired through the sensory system. And so that's how I teach it. I teach Om for trauma. I'm in
Yes, yes, yes.
I have a book
Love
that
it.
we're writing on, and we created some videos on Om for trauma, and we should be releasing those out here in the new year.
Awesome. So, speaking, let's pause right there and go right into where are you releasing these? How can people like scoop up some of these teachings and videos and classes? And I know you have something special. We'll come up to that at the end. But just for starters, how would people begin to like be like, oh, look at that. I see what she was talking about now in that interview with Jen.
Okay. GuruNischan.com. When you go to my website, you can opt in to be on my mailing list. You get a free breath training guide. So it just gives you a 3-step guide to start really working on some basic breath expansion and breath awareness practice. And then you're on my mailing list, and you'll hear kind of the updates of different classes I release. I teach online courses, and I also do, just different podcast releases and talks online.
Wonderful. So everybody make sure that you get on the mailing list. And I've spent time with GuruNischan in her home. I've spent time with GuruNischan, out and about. And right now, are you traveling? Where are you right now?
Yeah, I've been trying to leave Chicago for the winter when I can. So, and I'm in the middle of writing my book. So I'm writing a book right now on what it means to reclaim our sexual sovereignty when we've been abused, when we've been abused mentally, psychologically, spiritually, sexually. How do we reclaim self and pleasure back from a place of back into embodiment? So that's what my book is. It's called Predators, The Predators in My Body. So I came to Jamaica to be writing my book, and I've been here for a couple of months. And I know,
I know we have some people in Sensual Body Wealth group that I've been to Jamaica with many times with. So we are really excited to know that you're in Jamaica and that you're there, to really like look at and unpack the predator in the body for yourself and for generations to come and for many people all over the world. So I'm really excited that you shared where you are, what you're up to, and how to follow you.
thank you.
I would love to hear a little bit about, just so that the group can continue to kind of learn about me. Some people came here because they already knew me, but what is your relationship to connecting with me, our experiences? We've had a wide variety from dining to like much more planned events that went well, that went kind of awry, and different things. What do you feel, what would you have to say or share with others about Jen Fanning, about your connection to me, your experience of me?
Yeah, gosh, I remember meeting you at the first weekend of the School of Womanly Arts. You had connected to me, and you had also connected to my mom. And my mom did that weekend, that course with me at the same time. So that was really powerful. But there was just always a pulse of authenticity that you brought into the room, to the table, to the conversation, to whatever experience was being had. You've always just been ruthlessly yourself. And to me, that is such a attractive quality, because we're never in our perfect expression. And to think like, oh, I have to wait to do this once I do this. We're always in this process of like shedding, dying, new parts birthing. And to meet a soul sister like you, who got that, because of our backgrounds, but also that, life beat you up, and circle back around, and you just integrate every aspect of your story and brought it right back into the fleshy morsels of your coagulated experience. And I love that. Like that is sexy. And to me, this is how we create in the world, is by connecting with others that show up in the fullness of themselves, in the messy and the glory. That's a turn.
Oh, I love that.
That's the real. That's how I see you. It's always been a pleasure um, to know you, to know you know me. You know, if I feel like, gosh, who's someone who really sees me, you come to me. You know, we could not talk
Mm.
for months and months, years and years. It doesn't matter because we know life might beat us up and we bring us right back because we're alchemists. We take the heaviness of our life and we alchemize that shit in the body. And I love how much you know about that. You've taught me so much about the human body and healing and what does it mean to like say yes to me more than all of
Mm.
the things pushing against me. You know, your example of that has always been inspiring.
Oh, I love that. What does it mean to say yes to me? I want everybody right now, including myself and GuruNischan, to ask, that question. How can I be in me, fully in me today? Some
Mm.
of us might be, getting ready to be with, family, maybe less than normal. But sometimes stuff comes up around family. What does it mean to be fully me, unapologetically me, raw and authentic, tuned in and turned on just for today? I do live a just for today type of program and life. So it doesn't have to be like forever and ever turned on and tuned in. Just for today, how can I tune in and turn on to what I'm up to? Oh, I love that. Will you share with us what you're up to?
I would love
What
to.
you're,
I would love to.
yeah.
And I just want to say that was just such a beautiful pause, you know, the gaze of our own attention. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm, yeah.
Ah, that breath time together. So fun being with you.
It's such a treat. Thank you for making this group. When I saw you created, it was delicious. I'm such a fan of the sensory body, and you know so much about the connectivity. We speak a lot of the same language, and it's always fun to riff. Um, yeah, so I just launched my course this week. I opened it up for registration, and I know Monday, and this is literally like the
What
distance.
is course, people? Tell us all about it.
I brag. This is the distillation of the last 5 years of alchemy in my body. You know, it has been, you know, the morphing of my spirit back into my body. And this is the course that basically teaches this 5 week framework. And it's less of technique and it's more about a paradigm shift on how to relate to ourselves as electrical energetic systems, not physical systems. And that paradigm
Mm.
gives us a relationship to the electrical energy that actually fuels and sources the gland, what I call the command network. So it's called Erotic Foundations of Energy.
Erotic foundations of energy, people. You want this. Is, kind of like it sounds to me from my knowing you and my knowing what you're talking about. It's a beginning intro 101 to an owner's manual of yourself. So if you are someone who struggles with kind of, especially right now, being pulled on from different places as mothers, as wives, as girlfriends, as wives, as wives to husbands, as single people, all of the different ways that we might be living at this time. What happens to you in moments of overwhelm? What happens to you in moments of, oh, I'm finally rested enough to do? And then you do, but then it kind of burns out or fizzles out. So, an owner's manual and an intro to that energetic system. Can you describe the name of the course again? Say the title.
Called Currency of Power, Erotic Foundations of Energy course. And it's a 5 week class.
who doesn't want currency of power? Who doesn't want to understand? So this morning I was talking about how the clitoris is a bank account. The clitoris is a fountain of youth. The clitoris is an antenna, and it picks up what's going on, and so that's a good thing and sometimes a bad thing, right? So how do we protect all of that? So currencies of power, and then the next part,
Erotic foundations of energy.
erotic foundations of energy, right? So some of us are like, oh yeah, chakras. And I have one of the sisters in this group. She is wonderful with chakra paintings, and she mails you the canvas. Sojourner Jones, my good friend. So Nisi, and so knowing the power and the energy system is one thing. But my teenager is being crazy over here. Can you please not throw those away or do something else? So please just go outside with the dog for a little bit. I just need you outside for a little bit. Thank you. So the currencies, so foundations. Can you say that second part of the course?
Erotic foundations.
Erotic.
Energy.
Erotic foundations. So we might have that. The foundation is like one piece that I don't think most humans on the planet, unless they've really done some in-depth anatomy and physiology at a medical degree level, could really like know. But like we're like, oh yeah, energy and erotic, right? And so like as women, I want you to get into something like this, because when we have erotic foundations of energy, then that's really going to give you a little bit of that background without having to have a master's in Chinese medicine or a pre-med course or a lifetime of yoga, or all the different things. But to step into that. So I really love the name of it. And you said a little bit, but let's go into now the details. So it's a 5-week thing. Tell us more.
5-week course. Each course we cover a particular thing. So we go into the nervous system, electrical network the first week, and then into the glands, the juicing network, understanding the systems. And then how do we know what our wiring is already trained for? What is our motherboard? So basically the 4th week goes into the motherboard of learning our current wiring. And then the 5th week, we go into erotic neuroplasticity. How do we choose new neural patterns? How do we unwind our conditioning? So each week we're going to be live on Zoom, and then we'll have a practice portal where there'll be weekly prompts, and will be a place where we get to practice weekly the videos of the different techniques that I teach for the nervous system and to stimulate the glands. Basically how to ground into the vessel or the instrument of the body. One of the things I've noticed the last 20 years as a teacher is that one of the elements that's missing is the grounding current. We're seeing a lot of great wisdom and knowledge come onto the planet around the pineal gland, around sex energy, around all sorts of things, but we're not actually landing it down and in the body. And so we're seeing a lot of malfunctions of the thyroid, of the adrenal glands, the energy network, the thymus, the immune system. I mean, all these things working together. When the system is lit, when you're turned on and juiced up, your body regulates, it stabilizes, it calibrates. And so this is a process of group connectivity. Together, we get to unwind our patterns, see them, notice them, and choose new ones in real time. And this is what embodiment is, because our physiology holds the memory of our history. So it's not enough to desire something else. We can desire something else, and then we have to start breaking or dissolving how our physiology is held in the non-desire, in the not having, because of our time. Yeah. So this is just, how do you break up to rebuild yourself? How do you re-show up as a sovereign you? And so anyway, let me tell you the discount. I'm offering a special gratitude 2020 doozy of a year gratitude gift, and it's a 2-for-1 pass. So anyone who gets registered, registration does close tomorrow. So today and tomorrow, class starts December 1st, which is this coming Tuesday. The details are at my website, GuruNischan.com/currency of power. And when you get registered, you get a free pass for someone else. So you invest
Mm.
in the course, you can
Oh,
either
generous. Oh, yes.
so it's like a $500 investment, little under that, and then you get a free pass, so that's half price. You get to gift it to someone else, or you can split that cost, work that one out. But this is time. It's the time to come back home to the physical earth, not just externally. As the earth planet needs to be healed, we have to come home to the vessel of our earth and heal the fragmentation internally so that we collectively can heal the fragmentation that's happening externally. And that's what this
I
course.
love it. How generous. I love this. So, again, this is a 5-week course. You can get 2 for 1 as long as you get in by Friday night. That's all day today to look over the details. Make sure that you go back to the website, to my Facebook page, and enter in the link so that it's easy to find. I'm also live streaming this onto my personal page, so feel free to add your link there. And I know that it's also going to your page, so you, of course, have your links all over your page, I'm sure. Um, 5-week course, really turning in and tuning into
The sensory body,
endocrine system,
electrical.
the electrical system, anatomy, physiology, the functioning for the higher, more kind of like I spent some time in Egypt, and you all know me well as an acupuncturist and stuff. So we're talking like living in Egypt 10,000 years ago type of mastery of energy, right? So like we're making pyramids without like the wheel or like whatever, right? So like thinking about like what am I up to in this 2020? How has 2020 been for me? Where am I going? What's 2021 going to be like? What's my body going like? What's my relationships going like? What's my business? All these different areas. And how would this investment of this $500, or it could be like $250, like she said, if you figure it out with someone and split the cost or whatever, because it is a 2 for 1 for the next day and a half, the rest of today and all of tomorrow. Um, what is the wealth of that? So how many doctor's appointments could be missed? How many psychology sessions you wouldn't need because you learned how to tap into the currency of your erotic power and energy system, activate that system, calm down that system, work with that system instead of fighting against it and like, oh, I need hormones or this or that or all these different things. So just brilliant. I look forward to being in there with you all. I hope that you all join us in learning from GuruNischan. And again, say the title of your magical course.
Absolutely. It's called Currency of Power, Erotic Foundations of Energy. And you are currency. Your electrical energy is the foundation of your capacity to show up in power and purpose and passionate play. So to get in full permission of your erotic body, it's the mastery that every one of us have to cultivate in coming into this new age, because the world externally is so chaotic. To identify and decipher truth amongst the frequencies of fear is getting more challenging, which means we have to center and locate our own energy system internally so that we have a tether in the midst of space. We're tethered to the resonant truth of our own soul experience.
You are currency. That is what sensual body wealth is all about. You are currency, owning your currency, being in charge of your currency, having the savings account to it, being able to freely flow the currency where you want, when you want, not at an emergency kind of like situation, but on demand, like that kind of onus of self, really kind of being empowered to be there. I'm so excited by today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us or talk with us about or anything at all?
No, I just want to say that, this group is just such a special place. I so appreciate the wealth of wisdom that is you. Like, you are the living product of your experience. And so as you pour all your knowledge into this group, I wake up in the morning and I'm just pleased to witness the living, walking encyclopedia and scientific neurobiological science being you are, that's also so activated in your pleasure and your permission to speak to the world what it needs to hear for your daughter, for women, for your culture. Like it's just inspiring. And thank you for creating this space for us and for having me on today. I'm really grateful. And thank you for all the brags and promotions on me. I'm so grateful.
Oh, I'm so happy. Let me just end by sharing with you all. You've been watching, I think this group is just going about to start its third week of birth or whatever. And you've seen different guests come on. And make sure that you are catching some of the lives if you haven't seen them and doing all of that. I want to share that next week I'm actually going in Witches Brew, a new group that my friend was inspired by my making this group to make. And I'm teaching on the embodiment of magic and the magic of embodiment. It's a free class, and I encourage you to get in there. I encourage everybody to go to the sales page for GuruNischan's work, and I've given it a look. She had me kind of like on the front end checking out, and I could not be more excited for how many people can get some knowledge that does take PhD level kind of studies to get in a 5-week course. So I encourage you to go there, check it out, feel into yourself and see if it's a fit for you. Reach out to somebody and invite them to it. Join that way and have a grateful, thankful, giving, and receiving day on this American holiday, the Thanksgiving. And be good to yourself. Know yourself more, love yourself more, trust yourself more, and forgive yourself more. Let go and just be more instead of do more.
Yeah, thank you. That was juicy.
I love you, Nishan.
I love you, Jen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think you're gonna end the live, and I'll end my watch party.